Hi, we're Prevention Plus.
I'm Brooke Romero.
And I'm Ray Lozano. So we do a lot of different things, but Brooke, what is it that you do with Prevention Plus?
Well, one of my main responsibilities is making sure that the information that we bring to the students and to the people that we present to is relevant. So I'm constantly updating our information, doing new research, making sure that all of the information we put out there is the very latest information, most current and most informative.
So is information changing all the time?
Definitely. There's always new studies coming out, new research being done. So I make sure that, I go through all of that new research. I make sure that it's coming from credible sources and stuff like that. And then I take that information and make it presentable and understandable.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. And so that's one of the things we get to do.
Ray, what would you say your main part in the Prevention Plus team would be?
The main part of Prevention Plus and what I do is I do a lot of presentations in schools. And so that's one of the things that we're not doing right now, but normally we'd be on the road. We do about 400 and some presentations a year. And a lot of them are through the Elks Lodge because they bring us in, just like what Orange County's doing here. And so that's one of the things I do. And then the other part that I really like to do is talk with parents on how to talk to their kids. Because what I found when I used to work at the hospital and different places that I worked at, with parents, they would tell their kids don't do drugs, but then they didn't know what to say after that.
Right.
So developed a whole presentation on how to talk to your kids about drugs and alcohol. Because you just don't want to say, don't do it, or don't hang out with those kids, or stop that because I'm dad. You want to have some good information on that kind of stuff. So, and then the other part is, I've tried this out on my kids. And so, all the things that I teach on are the ways that Mom and I brought up our kids. My wife and I brought up our kids, and so we wanted to, make sure they worked. So
it worked.
So Brooke, when you were in high school, what are some of the things that you saw, like when it came to alcohol and presentations and what students were doing?
Well, for me, it was tough because I went to a really small school, and so we didn't really have any kind of information. We didn't really have presenters coming out to us, because the whole school was only about 200 students, so we didn't really have speakers coming to our school. So I didn't really feel like there was a lot of information out there for me. And the other thing that I found was I didn't really feel like there was a lot of resources for students like me who knew that they didn't want to use drugs or alcohol, but don't necessarily know why.
Right.
And so I didn't feel like there were a lot of resources in terms of like things to do after school and stuff like that. Places where I could meet with other students who didn't use drugs and alcohol.
That makes sense. Yeah, so that would be kind of tough, not having that kind of information if you were looking for it.
Right.
Because I know if you like drugs and you look on the internet, you can find information that shows you why you should like drugs.
Right.
And if you don't like drugs, you can also look on the internet and find all that information why you shouldn't. So there's always a mix of information out there.
That's so true. Now, I like the way that you present information because I feel like the way you do it is in a real different way. What do you feel like kind of sets us apart from other speakers?
I'll tell you, and I'm not saying this because of me, but just because of what we hear over and over again, it's just the way that we present drug information. So I know anytime they do an introduction, they go, Ray Lozano is going to be talking about drugs and alcohol today. You can hear like the entire gym go, ugh, Because normally what it is, it's a testimonial on somebody who's done drugs and now they're not doing drugs and why their life's better, so you hear a lot of that, or you get a lot of PowerPoint presentations that are a little bit boring sometimes. And so what I've done is I've taken my background in comedy and then just what I would want to see sitting in the audience, I would love to see information presented this way, because anytime I see somebody present information the way that I'm doing it, I'm really interested in that, because it's stories, it's laughing, it's being sad, there's all this information that's like, oh my gosh, that makes sense, And so like when we talk about alcohol, it's super easy to remember. We have the 3 P's of alcohol, which are pee, puke, and pass out. And, then we talk about the 3 different parts of the brain that get affected and why kids, get intoxicated and why they become addicted really quickly. And all of that's done in a real fun way. And I know that kids remember it because I've walked onto campuses like the following year, and I've heard kids go, "Hey, there's that pee puke and pass out guy." You know, now I don't know if I should be happy about that or not, but I know this information, you know, sticks with them quite a bit.
Right.
So in our presentations, when the Elks bring us out, we do a lot of fun examples, a lot of great stories, you know, and then they can find us on TikTok and Instagram and all of that. And so we'll post all that information where you can find us on all that. So yeah, it's great being able to present to students, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. It's great to be able to connect with them and, you know, like watch that light bulb turn on in their head.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, that's great.
So we weren't able to come out to your school. We were going to come out in April, but it looks like things have been postponed, as you know. So we're going to see you later on in the year. And definitely the Orange County Elks Lodge. What's that number again?
It is 1475.
1475, or the group that's going to be bringing us out. All right, so we'll see you guys later on in the school year.
Basically, you're just glad to be out of class for about an hour. You were right. Yeah. It's so funny, you guys. You didn't see it, but it's so funny to see the teachers in the back of the room clapping. Yeah, that's lying here. Get me out of class. Yeah. My name is Ray Lozano. I do get in trouble all across the country with my daughter Brooke talking about drugs and alcohol. Love what we do. I'm always curious about this. I'm Mexican Hispanic. Any other Mexican Hispanic kids here today? Oh my gosh. Nice. Hands down. Being Mexican Hispanic, when I was born, my father gave me a middle name that's about that, probably about that long. I never have them introduce me by it because they never get it right. My full name is Ray Enrique Eduardo Quintana Quintano Lozano. Oh yeah, right? Ray Enrique Eduardo Quintana Quintano Lozano. What I find sometimes is people have trouble making this, what I find sometimes is people have trouble making this sound. Yeah. Cannot make that sound. Yeah. Everybody going like this, right? Got spit all over their shirt. Let me give you guys a chance to try it out. Here we go. And get ready. Everybody say Ray. Get ready. Here it comes. Enrique. Eduardo. Quintana. Quintano. Lozano. Ray Enrique Eduardo Quintana. I'll tell you what, guys. And there were times having that name was awesome. Times when it was terrible. I'll tell you when it was terrible having that name. Remember kindergarten learning to spell your name for the very first time? And your letters were that big and you had that big old fat pencil? I knew I was going to be there all day because it was like Ray Enrique. I need more paper, t-shirt.
That's so true.
Man, whenever I finish that thing, I'll tell you what, it looked like a homework assignment. I would turn that thing in, set it on the teacher's desk, and look at it straight in the face, and I'd say, staple it, don't drop it. You know when it worked out really good to have that name? Anybody in this room ever have your mom and dad get mad at you and call you by your full name? Who's had that happen, right? Yes. Hands down. Everybody that had your hand up, think how far you could run with a name like Ray Enrique Eduardo Quintana Quintana, right? If I got in trouble right here and my mom started to say my name, I could be out the door, across the street, down by that little Mexican restaurant before my mom could hit me with that chancla, right? So yeah, it worked out good. We love talking about drugs and alcohol. We do. We go to some schools and it is so painful sometimes when they present drug and alcohol information. Now, how many of you have ever sat through like those really boring drug presentations, right? Oh yeah, quite a few, hands down. Yeah. We see kids at those boring drug presentations, they have that same look on their face like, I'm not gonna make it, you know. Yeah. And so the thing is, we thought, let's change it up. This information is important for you guys, especially what's happening with e-cigarettes, juuls, and vapes. Let's make it fun to learn. Here's what makes us sad about drugs and alcohol, okay? Now there's a lot of terrible things that are gonna happen. People are gonna get addicted, people are gonna lose body parts, they're gonna lose their teeth, some people are gonna die, all of that is terrible. But here's the thing that happens, and I can safely say to every single person that does drugs or alcohol, here's the thing that happens that makes us the saddest. Whatever's going to make you amazing, whatever your special skill is, whatever talent has been given to you but hasn't been given to your neighbor, that is going to be the very first thing that drugs and alcohol start to steal from you. Whatever you love the most is what drugs and alcohol take away from you all the time. Let me show you what drugs and alcohol will take away from you, okay? Some of you are going to be able to clap, some of you won't, but everybody's going to have an opportunity, okay? Here's that amazing skill that you have inside you, okay? By round of applause, how many people in this room are great at playing some kind of sport? Go ahead and clap. Nice. Right there. Future athletes. And oh my gosh, that's super good, right? Yeah. Right there, future athletes. You start doing drugs and alcohol, and that gets taken away from you. By round of applause, who in this room is great at playing a musical instrument? Go ahead and clap, you're great at that. Right there. Hot cross buns. Anyway, right there. Future musicians. You start doing drugs and alcohol, that gets taken away from you. And by round of applause, who in this room loves numbers? Math is your thing. Go ahead, clap right there. Nice. Right there. Future engineers, future architects. And you start doing drugs and alcohol, that gets taken away from you. By round of applause, and by round of applause, who in this room loves cooking? That's your thing, is to cook. Right there. Future chefs. You start doing drugs and alcohol, and that gets taken away from you. All right. I am totally afraid to ask this next one. Legitimately afraid. Because I picked some of you out the second you walked in the door. This is the one my daughter and I could go crazy clapping at. How many people in this room are always getting in trouble for talking way too much? All my talkers. They're great at talking. Oh gosh, thanks, yeah. They're great at talking and talking. You guys, that was us. I cannot tell you how many parent-teacher conferences my wife and I went to for my daughter, where the teacher said, love your daughter, great in school, talks way too much. Even in 8th grade, you got a special award for how much she would talk, right? But I knew it. I knew that. Me, I was that kid that couldn't be quiet. I had a teacher, though, that saved my life, Mrs. Lyons. Sophomore year of high school, I'm sitting in her social studies class, and I'm making all these kids over here laugh. Total inappropriate time. I realize that now. All these kids are laughing. I was making them laugh. I wasn't even paying attention to class. Teacher, Mrs. Lyons, walks up to my desk in front of everybody. She puts her hands down on my desk. She looks me straight in the face and she says these words. She goes, Ray, you're going to get in trouble with all that talking. I looked at her and I said, Mrs. Lyons, I know. I said, go ahead, give me detention. I know how this works. She goes, no, you got to do something with all that talking. She, at the end of her class, literally walked me out of her class, took me to the theater department on our high school, looked at the teacher and said, do something with this kid. He's got too many words in him. He's got to get him out, right? And so years after high school, I called her because she saved my life, you know. And years after high school, man, I was so excited because I was doing this job. And I called her all excited, found her. I said, Mrs. Lyons, Mrs. Lyons. I said, do you remember me? And she's like, no. And I said, I says, Ray Enrique Eduardo Quintana. And she's like, oh yeah, I remember who you are now, right? And I said, Mrs. Lyons, I said, you're never gonna believe what I do for a living. She's like, what is that? I said, I make a living out of talking. And she's like, oh my gosh, I totally remember that. That's amazing. So all my little talkers in the room, we get it. We understand why you talk. But understand, you learn when to do it and when not to do it, and it will get you all the way around the world. We traveled all around the world just talking. Where are my video game players at? Go ahead and clap for great playing video games. Nice. Fortnite. Video game players. I'm going to be honest with you. Oh my gosh, that's great. I'm going to be honest with you. I know sometimes video game players, you know, people are upset with how much you're playing video games. So I'm going to tell you this. This is so true. The future belongs to you guys. My wife works at Loma Linda University Medical Center, a major university hospital down the road. A guy came into the hospital that needed this specific operation. They call him a 1%er because hardly anybody in the world needs the operation that this guy needed. They found a doctor in China that performs this operation. This is his area of expertise. So instead of flying the doctor from China to the United States, or taking this patient from the United States to China, what they did when it came time for this operation is they put this patient on a table in the operating room, and literally the thing over him was like a 3D printer. That's the best way I can describe it. The doctor stayed in China. When it came time to do the operation, they put these virtual reality goggles on this doctor. My wife was watching it live at the hospital, and she said it literally looked like he was performing, or he was literally playing a video game when you watched him. And he performed this operation successfully. What the hospital says that they're going to do is this is the direction that they're going in. They said when they're going to perform operations like this, they're going to start doing this because you have less people in the operating room. All they had was 2 nurses in there in case something went wrong, but it was an amazing operation. I'm always amazed at people that can clap at this one. How many people in this room, if I gave you $60, you could actually hold on to that money till you have like $200? Go ahead and clap. Would you great at that? Right there. If you are great with money, drugs and alcohol will take that away super fast. By random applause, who's great at spending money? Nice. All of my broke friends right there. I don't know what you can do with that. Yeah, right? Yeah, go crazy. We'll spend other people's money, right? Yeah. You guys, understand this. There's something amazing that you have to take care of, because if you take care of it, it will take care of you. Right now, you have no idea what it is. When I was in your grade, I had no idea that talking would get me around the world. You don't know what it is. Students, please hear this. This is the only rule I'm going to give you. Do not clap at this, okay? Don't even goof around because it sounds terrible. Do not clap at this. Just silently raise your hand. Teachers in the room, please participate in this as well. Let me show you the other side of that. How many of you have heard this story, know this kid? Maybe he's a family member or even a friend. The kid was really good at school, starts drinking alcohol or smoking weed. Now they're close to dropping out, or they did drop out of school. Who knows that kid? Raise your hand. Hands down. How about this kid? Really great at playing some kind of sport. Starts drinking alcohol, smoking weed. They don't play that sport anymore. They could have been great. Hands down. How about this kid? Real close to mom and dad. Starts drinking alcohol, smoking weed. Now they don't get along anymore. Who knows that kid? Right? Hands down. Miguel Sanchez. Miguel Sanchez is this kid that should have stood in front of you one day. Miguel Sanchez started high school with my son and daughter. He was amazing. Miguel Sanchez was great at baseball, football, and track. This kid was designed to run. I don't even think this kid carried a book home with him. Straight A's all the way across the board. If Miguel Sanchez walked into this room when he was in high school, I could safely say 90% of you would want to be his friend. This kid was cool. Everybody told Miguel Sanchez the same thing I told him. Miguel, your life's going to be amazing. You're going to go places other people will not go. Miguel Sanchez would come over for breakfast, freshman, sophomore, junior year, about 3 times, 4 times a week. He'd eat breakfast and then he'd go to high school. His senior year, Miguel stopped coming around to the house, and I asked my daughter, what happened to Miguel? She said, Dad, this is gonna make me super sad. Miguel just started smoking weed. I'm like, no. I said, how much is he smoking? When she talked to him, Miguel said he's only smoking twice a month. That's it, twice a month. We'll go with that. And I said, did you talk to him? She said, yeah. So what did he say? Miguel Sanchez said the same thing every single kid told me when I was running a counseling program for kids with addictions. He said the same exact thing. Dude, it's just a little weed, what's wrong with that? It's just a little beer, what's wrong with that? I'm only vaping every now and then, or using a Juul every now and then, what's wrong with that? His entire senior year, and I'll just give it to him, Miguel only smoked twice a month, that was it. You guys, when it came time to graduate, what do you think happened to Miguel? No, he did not fail, he did not drop out. Miguel Sanchez walked across that stage with honors. He got to the other end of that stage, the University of Redlands, $56,000 a year, looked at Miguel and said, Miguel, we want you to come to our school. We want you to come to our school so bad. We are going to give you a $200,000 scholarship. All you have to do is come up with $36,000. That's how bad we want you to come to our school. Miguel Sanchez took that $200,000 scholarship. Between his senior year of high school, freshman year of college, all Miguel did those 3 months was smoke weed like crazy. His freshman year of college, he didn't do so good. And you know what? I'm not even going to blame the weed on that, because a lot of kids don't do good their freshman year. But his sophomore year, when Miguel should have been really excelling, he came into a jam. They were going to drug test his team, and they gave him 30 days notice, so he could have easily stopped. But Miguel said, do I stick with school and sports with a $200,000 scholarship, or do I choose weed? What do you think Miguel chose? Weed. He did. How do I know this story? A couple months ago, my daughter and I were going to go eat lunch at a Subway. We walked into a Subway sandwich place. We were kind of laughing, having a good time. We both look up. There's Miguel Sanchez. Has his little paper hat on, making sandwiches. Now I'll tell you what, working at Subway is not bad at all. But for a kid that had a $200,000 scholarship, that had to hand the school back $150,000, painful. He looked at us, we looked at him. He put his head down, asked us what we wanted on our sandwich, made the sandwich, paid for it, rolled it up, and we walked out the door. I asked my daughter, will you talk to Miguel? Asked her if he could tell a story. She went and talked to me. He says, yeah, please tell my story. He says, it's terrible. He said, I'm the kid that had it. He said, I'm the kid that you talked about. This one made me sad. He told my daughter, tell your dad everything that he talks about with drugs and alcohol is true. I lost what was going to get me around the world, and drugs and alcohol, marijuana took it away from me. For you guys inside this room, e-cigarettes, Juuls, and vaping are what's destroying your generation right now. Your generation, especially 8th graders, are going crazy with these things, and you have this mentality that they're safe. How many of you heard of e-cigarettes? How many of you heard of vaping? How many of you heard of Juuls? Pretty much everybody. Okay.
Alright, so before we get started, I just want to find out where you guys are information-wise. So let me ask you guys, raise your hand if you've heard that e-cigarettes, vapes, or Juuls are healthier or safer for you than regular cigarettes. Who's heard that? Okay, good amount of you guys. Hands down. How many of you guys have heard that they're actually worse for you than regular cigarettes? Who's heard that? Okay, pretty much the same amount of people. Hands down. How many of you guys have heard that you can find nicotine-free vapes? So you can find vape juice that doesn't have nicotine in it. Okay, a lot of people. Hands down. And how many of you guys have heard that pretty much every single vape juice has nicotine in it? Okay, so as you guys can see, there's a lot of you guys had heard both of those pieces of information. Those pieces of information were pretty 50-50 split. And a lot of that is due to the fact that e-cigarettes are so new to our society. Regular cigarettes have been around forever, but e-cigarettes are a really new thing. So there's a lot of misinformation and miscommunication about e-cigarettes, which is exactly what the tobacco industry wants. The tobacco industry wants you guys to be confused about e-cigarettes so that you don't know whether they're healthier, safer, worse, whether they have nicotine or not, and you can't make an informed decision. Now the main chemical that we're going to be talking about today is nicotine, and I'm sure all of you guys know that nicotine is the stuff in cigarettes that gets somebody addicted to cigarettes. But I bet almost every single one of you guys could find nicotine somewhere else in your homes. Somebody in a minute, raise your hand and tell me where you think you can find nicotine in your homes, but it cannot be a tobacco product of any kind. So it cannot be e-cigarette, vape, Juul, it can't be a nicotine patch, nicotine gum, it can't be a regular cigarette, and it can't be that one uncle that smokes all the time, okay? Other than a tobacco product, where do you think you can find nicotine? What do you think? In what? One more time.
Markers.
Markers. In markers. Definitely not. That would be terrible. You definitely wouldn't want nicotine in markers. What do you think? In paper? Like in paper. In paper. In paper, definitely not. That would be awful. You'd get addicted to writing essays. What do you think? In cleaning spray, you're super close. It's probably like right next to the cleaning spray. Last one, what do you think? In your shoes, definitely not. That would be awful. Oh. You would be able to find nicotine in bug spray. In bug spray. You would be able to find nicotine in bug spray. So if you grab a can of Raid or any kind of bug spray and you look on the back, you're going to see a word that begins with NIC or ends in TINE, and it's some kind of variation of nicotine. Now the reason why they put nicotine into bug spray is because what nicotine actually is it's a super, super deadly poison. If I took one pack of cigarettes, 20 cigarettes, and I extracted all of the nicotine out, I would have about one drop. Just one drop of nicotine. But if I took that one drop of nicotine and put it on my hand, on my tongue, anywhere on my body, that one drop of nicotine would be enough to completely kill me. That's how strong of a poison nicotine is. Now, who in here sprayed bug with bug spray before? Okay, pretty much everyone. And how fast do they die? Super fast, right? Like almost immediately. So, when you spray a bug with bug spray, what happens is that nicotine very quickly goes into the bug system and it separates out all the connections inside the bug's body. So right now, for all of us in this room, for every living creature on Earth, all of our body parts are in constant communication with each other to keep us alive. So my arms are communicating with my legs with my heart with my brain, and so on and so on. When you spray a bug with bug spray, that nicotine goes in and it separates out all those connections so the bug's body parts can't work together, and then the bug dies. Now what happens when you add just a tiny, tiny amount of nicotine, like the amount in a cigarette, is it separates out this really important connection in your brain. Let me show you guys where that connection is. If you take your right hand and take your index finger and place it right in the center of your forehead, right in the center of your forehead, if you went about a knuckle deep, you would hit something that we're going to call a go button. Go button. Then if you move it over to right above your left eye, you're going to hit a stop button. So go button, stop button, go button, stop button. Put your hands down. Let me show you guys how this button works. Has everybody in here at one point or another had mom, dad, sibling, best friend, somebody jump out and really scare you good? Who's had that happen? Okay, pretty much everyone. How many of you guys have ever jumped out and really scared someone good? Great. Hands down. Let me find out something. When you guys get scared, when someone jumps out and really scares you good, where are my screamers at? Who lets out a good scream when they get scared? Nice. Hands down. brother. And when I was little, I used to love to scare my older brother. But guess which one of the three he was? He was a puncher. So every now and then I would hide somewhere and I would jump out and scare my brother. And my brother would just punch me. And so like the little sister that I am, I would run to my mom like, Mom, he hit me, he hit me. And my mom would always get mad at my brother, which I was always pretty funny. And so I'd hide somewhere, I'd jump out, I'd scare him, he'd hit me, my mom would get mad. And we would just do this over and over and over again until one day my mom got fed up with it. So my mom goes to my brother and she says, if you hit your little sister one more time, I'm taking away your Xbox, your PlayStation, your computer, I'm taking away everything. So I, as this great little sister, I thought, wow, my big brother is going to get all of his favorite stuff taken away. The things he loves most in the world because of what I'm doing. Bonus! So I decided I'm going to scare him again. So one last really good scare to get my brother. So late at night, I go into his room and I go in the closet and I hide down behind some clothes. And I'm hiding, and I'm hiding, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and I'm waiting, and I see him wake up, and he walks over to the closet, and he opens up the door, and I scare my brother. Now my brother, out of instinct, pulls back to punch, and then this whole situation turns into like a slow motion movie scene, like Fast and the Furious or one of those action movies, where he's watching his fist like, but that was like the Minecraft of the day. But my brother stopped himself. Now what happened in my brother's brain was when I scared him, his brain sent a signal to the go button to pull back and punch. Then when he decided that wasn't what he wanted to do, the go button instantly sent a signal to the stop button and he stopped himself. Now what happens when you add just a tiny, tiny amount of nicotine, like the amount in a cigarette, is that nicotine goes in and it hits the go button, but it separates out that connection between the go button and the stop button. So it hits the go button, but it will not allow a signal to be sent to the stop button. This is why it is so easy to start smoking cigarettes or to start vaping and so difficult to stop. This is what makes nicotine so addictive. Nicotine is one of the hardest addictions to break. Let me show you guys victims of nicotine addiction. Raise your hand if you know somebody who's tried to stop smoking cigarettes like 2 or 3 times and they cannot do it. Allow the hands. Hands down. That is because of how strong. That nicotine addiction is. Now, one of the really terrible parts about the tobacco industry is how many people every year die from cigarettes. Every year, just in the United States, 484,000 people will die from cigarettes or some kind of tobacco use every year. And I know that's a really big number. It's hard to imagine what 484,000 people looks like, so I'll break that number down for you guys. What that number works out to is 1,300 every day, or 54 people every hour. So, since we've been in this class, 41 people have died from cigarettes or some kind of tobacco use. That's almost 1 person every minute. So what the tobacco industry has said is we have 484,000 people dying from our products. That's 484,000 people that aren't buying cigarettes anymore because they're dead. So what the tobacco industry has to do is they have to to get 500,000 new people addicted to their products every single year in order to continue making money. The tobacco industry just wants to make money, and they're going to do it any way possible. Now, the tobacco industry also knows that our generations do not smoke cigarettes like generations before us. In my dad's generation, 14% of people smoked cigarettes. In my generation, it's down to 1%, and your generation is expected to be even lower. So the tobacco industry was losing clients, so they're trying to get you guys addicted with vaping. Even though the tobacco industry claims that they're marketing to adults, that is a complete lie. The tobacco industry is marketing directly towards you guys because they're trying to get you guys addicted so that they can keep getting money from you for the rest of your lives.
Here's what you have to understand, and this is terrible. My daughter's talking about nicotine. It goes in and it hits the go button, but it will not allow a signal to be sent to the stop button. When it comes to old-fashioned cigarettes, they used to bring us into rooms just like this when I was in school, and they had somebody talk about cigarettes. All it takes to get addicted to regular old-fashioned cigarettes is 3. That's it, 3. So if a kid smoked one on Tuesday, they smoke one on Thursday, and they smoke an old-fashioned cigarette on Friday, they form an addiction. When it comes to e-cigarettes, Juuls, and vaping, all it takes is 3 days. That's it. 3 days. How do you know somebody has an addiction? Don't say yes to this and don't answer these out loud. Just a couple of quick questions. If you know anybody that smokes in class, like the teacher turns their back and they hit it real quick and they blow the smoke behind them, that's an addiction. And if you know anybody that goes into the bathroom in between classes and smokes, and guys, quiet please. That is an addiction. What that means is the tobacco companies own you. Here's a big one. If, when I was asking these questions, or asked those questions, if you said anything like this inside your brain, could you use it? If you said anything like this inside your brain, nah, that's not true. This information isn't true. They don't know what they're talking about. I can quit whenever I want. If you said anything like that inside your brain, that is your brain protecting the addiction. And hush, this last part, and I'll get you guys out of here on this. This is so gross to us, and it's happening all over the place. People are sharing these Juuls, and they look exactly like a flash drive. So what will happen is somebody will smoke one, and a lot of times it's in a bathroom, which is already gross. It'll smoke it, and then they hand it to their friend, and their friend smokes it. What that would be like, that'd be like if I stood up here and I put a metal spoon in my mouth, and I held it in my mouth for like 10 seconds, and then I hand this metal spoon to this girl and say, put that in your mouth real quick. Yeah, go ahead. Is that something you'd want to do? No, not at all. And then once she puts it in her mouth, then we're going to pass this all the way back to one of the teachers in the back row back there. But we're all going to put it in our mouth. Would you guys be willing to do that? No, that is so gross. So they're finding out, and that people are getting these mouth diseases, and they're being shared through these e-cigarettes, Juuls, and vapes. So for you guys in this room, please understand this. Nicotine is addictive. Nicotine goes in and it hits the go button. All it takes is 3 days to become addicted to those. And all those flavors, caramel apple, electric bubble gum, brain freeze, unicorn parts, all of those are designed to get you guys addicted. And you guys, please understand, they're unbelievably dangerous for you guys. My name is Ray Lozano. This is my amazing daughter, Brooke Romero. Thank you so much for this opportunity.